future, keep the river clean. Hey, tell your neighbor, tell a friend, can't let it continue again. It's our responsibility to protect the environment. A healthy river is healthy you. And Mother Nature calling out to you. I tell you, sand mining river beds, no we not in that. Ross who wage in these streams, no we not in that. Let's clean up pollution. We have a solution. Make super everybody envy of the nation. I tell you, please keep the river clean. I beg you, please keep the river clean. No more trash in the water, keep the river clean. Let me freeze up for the future, keep the river clean. You're so fresh, keep the river clean, keep the river clean. Farmers, keep the river clean, keep the river clean. Hoteliers, keep the river clean, keep the river clean. Businesses, keep the river clean, keep the river so fresh. Please keep the river clean. I tell you, please keep the river clean. No more trash in the water, keep the river clean. Let me freeze up for the future, keep the river clean. Hey.
Good morning, Sufre. We have a very apt song to introduce our Flowing Clean program. I want to wish everybody a very safe day 2 of St. Lucia Carnival. We will be going on with our show this morning. Regardless, I will be trying to enjoy the festivities online after the show is done. So for today, I have a very brief program. We are going to be talking about the activities that have happened under the Flowing Clean project. And just to give a recap, Flowing Clean is a program that is being run by Waterways in St. Lucia. I am the program director of Waterways, and it is being run in collaboration with the Sufre Regional Development Foundation. Flowing Clean is being funded by the Jeff Small Grants Program, UNDP, through the ProCarib Plus project. So far, we have had a lot happening. I am very tired, actually. Last week, we had a show where I brought on Mr. Saltibus, and we spoke a bit about the foundation's role in this project. Today, a little bit later, I'm going to be joined by Inspector Kimroy Rennie, and we will be talking about our recently concluded drone pilot and participatory mapping training, which happened at the Sufre Primary School over the course of last week. I am pleased to say that everybody who took part in the training last week have passed and are now certified recreational and basic level proficiency drone pilots. We also conducted our flights, and I'm sure some of you must have been hearing the drones flying overhead. We were able to do some mapping of different parts of Sufre. And again, Flowing Clean, our focus is on the Sufre River and to get our community to take responsibility to restore the Sufre River. So we started the mapping process through the training, actually. We mapped part of the Sufre River from the bridge by the still down to the river mouth. We mapped part of Palmist to capture the ravine in Palmist. We mapped Barons Drive again to capture some of the ravines in the Barons Drive area. And we did some other areas for practice. So we flew over the school, over the stadium, looking at where the drains are flowing into the river. And if I could, I would have shown some of the maps that we did live. And for those of you who are viewing on social media, on Facebook, would be able to see it. But if you go to our Facebook page, Caribbean Waterways on Facebook, on Instagram, during this week, we will be posting some of the maps that we were able to produce and annotate. Why did we do this drone pilot course? Well, our project is focused on the entire Sufre watershed, and that means from Bouton down to Fonjalib. And our goal is to try to improve the river health for all the Sufre River systems. And to do that on the ground would be virtually impossible, and in some areas dangerous. So we decided to include aerial mapping, aerial monitoring using drones. And of course, to do that, we would need pilots to fly the drones and then persons who are able to generate the maps, read the maps, and then provide a report on what they can see from what we generated. So Over the week when we were flying, we could see some points where you could identify some garbage. Good morning, tall guy. Good morning. Good morning, Miss Mitchell. We were able to identify some areas already where we could see some accumulation of garbage in the river, and those are points that we would be visiting. So, doing the aerial photography and the mapping, it makes our work a little bit easier in that we would not have to walk the entire length of the river to identify those trouble spots, but we can see it using a drone. We can fly the drone in a very short space of time. And then when we see the maps, we can then go directly to those sites and investigate what is happening in that area. So as soon as Inspector Rainey joins me, I will be adding him to the live and we will be talking a little bit more about our drone mapping course. We have also continued other components of the project. So for the epidemiology component, where we're looking at the incidence of cancer and water testing, we will be very soon signing a contract with a lab to collect water samples. And those sites have already been predetermined. Those samples, once collected, will be sent to a lab in the US or in Canada for further testing. And the results, like I mentioned last week, we will be providing a report to the entire community and inviting persons to a workshop where we will be holding a community meeting to discuss the results of the water quality testing. Alongside that water quality testing, we have had a draft or the first version for pre-testing of the cancer survey, and a few persons have been invited to complete that survey online. And by Friday, I will be meeting with the rest of the members of the committee for us to take a look at the results and for us to adjust the questions or the order of the questions. So the pre-testing gives us an idea as to what tweaks we need to do to the survey instrument, the questions, before we actually go out into the community to do the sample collection. We have received as well some information from the epidemiology unit in the Ministry of Health for us to analyze and map. So that now that we have done the drone mapping, I will be the one actually going ahead to map those areas and see if anything pops out at us, and the community will decide which catchment areas we will be focused our questions on. To continue, we have additional components that are going to be starting very shortly, including the community composting component. And with that one, we are making a call out right now for 20 households. So if anybody in the Fonsejac, not the Fonsejac, sorry, the new development and the Fort Benye area are interested in joining our community composting program, please message me. My number is 519-2425, or you could email me nkazabon@mywaterways.org, or you could go on our Facebook page and leave us a message and send us a message in our inbox so that I can contact you, and we will be able to host or run a training period, a training session on composting and trash separation. So once again, we are going to be having, putting out right now, sorry, a call for 20 households to volunteer to be part of our community composting pilot. We only want, in the initial stage, 20 households. And what would that entail? Through the training, we will be teaching persons who live in those houses about trash separation. We will be providing bins to those houses so that they would separate their trash into plastic, glass, cans, and biodegradable compostable materials. Then we would be having one person that we will be employing who would be collecting the compostable materials twice a week from those households. So from the bin, we would take the bin filled with compostable materials and give the households a clean bin. and that person will be responsible for taking the filled bins to the site where we'll be making compost. The rest of the garbage that can actually be utilized, we will be requiring households to keep a log for us. They will be provided with a luggage scale, a hand scale, for them to weigh the bags that they have filled with the glass, the plastic, and the cans. But those bags will be going to the regular landfill, to regular trash, until we can set up in conjunction with another project that will be coming on stream, hopefully before the end of the year, where they would be looking at collecting some plastic bottles for recycling locally. So we want persons to get into the habit of starting to separate their trash, and we'll be providing those households with the training and the supplies that they need, so the bags and the bins, for them to engage in that. So once again, if any of you listening living in the new development and the Fort-Benning areas are interested in participating in our pilot, please contact me. If you see me, you can speak to me. I will gladly take down your information in person, but I can be reached via cell phone, via email, or on any one of our social media platforms. I am still waiting on Inspector Rainey, and we will be discussing a little bit more the drone training that we did and the role that the police will be playing on our drone monitoring team. We trained 6 persons from 5 different agencies over the week, including the Sufer Foundation and the Pito Management Area Office, SMMA, as well as the Sufer Police. The team that we have formed will be helping me map the entire Sufer watershed, and that process is going to take at least 1 month because it is a very, very wide area to cover. And after the mapping is after the drone flights have been completed, then the mapping needs to take place, and that is going to take quite a bit of time as well. So for the agencies that took part, other than helping with the project, they will benefit directly because, for instance, the Sulphur Springs can now use the drone that we are acquiring, we are procuring through this project. They can use this drone for monitoring what is happening at the Sulphur Springs. In 2022 or 2023, I did a project with some students at Sufer Comprehensive where we used one of the teachers' drones and we mapped the location of the boiling pools, the boiling mud pools at the Sulphur Springs. So it would be interesting to actually fly the drone over the Sulphur Springs area again and to see whether the boiling mud pools, the fumaroles, have shifted. And if they have shifted, we can actually measure the distance and the direction that those pools are shifting, if they are actually shifting. We have additional uses that the foundation can do with the drones. I'm sure many of you know that a couple months ago we had a tourist who had an unfortunate accident on PT Pito. Having a drone with night vision capability, we would be able to fly the drone and identify where those persons were located. Unfortunately, at the time, we did not have that capability, but now we have trained personnel, and we will soon have in Sufer a drone that we can use for us to do exactly that. So for the SMMA can also utilize a drone for monitoring the reefs in the area. The PMA office, of course, is monitoring the entire Pito Management Area, which is a World Heritage Site. And our World Heritage Site has some areas that they monitor using photographs. So now they would have staff trained who can then utilize the drones for them to start monitoring those areas and make that process a lot quicker and faster for them. So the training was very, very informative. I think everybody who was at that training left that training very much satisfied. In fact, they were asking me when we're going to be doing level 2 to level 5, but that's an expensive undertaking. That would be for another project. But We can also use the drones now in Sufre for additional work that needs to be done. So if any agency requires a drone flight for some reason, they could be able to make a request to Waterways for us to do some mapping for them if required. I am planning and wearing my other hat right now as deputy chair of NEMO, the DDC in Sufre, the District Disaster Committee, to use available drones to us and the drone pilots to be able to map any area that gets affected from any natural disaster. So after Hurricane Beryl and the storm surge hit last year, I really wanted for us to have a drone fly so that we could map the area to show the extent of the damage, how far the storm surge went up, which businesses, which homes were affected. Using the drone, we would be able to have done that very, very quickly. Unfortunately, we were not able to get that done due to the unavailability of the drone and the personnel that NEMO has trained. But I am hoping that we would continue training in Sufre for us to get some of our NEMO volunteers in Sufre trained so that we will be able to do exactly that and we will be self-sufficient in that regard. So if anybody has any questions, please feel free to call. Unfortunately, the lines at the station right now are down. You could call though via WhatsApp. The number for WhatsApp is 730-5388. Again, it is 730-5388. So if you call via WhatsApp, you will be live on air. Or you could type in your comments on Facebook and I will be able to read them and give responses. Or if you would like, you could call me on my cell phone and I will just play it. So my number is 519-2425. Again, the numbers to call if you have any questions, 730-5388 via WhatsApp, or you can call me directly, 519-2425. Flowing Clean again, as everybody would be hearing and starting to hear a lot more. We have a lot more activities coming down the line. So stay tuned to this program and we will be discussing them as they're being rolled out. For us this week, we are focused on getting the surveys completed. We are going to be doing a community perception survey as well as the cancer survey in Sufre, as well as getting the water quality sampling done next week. So getting everything in place for that, the locations and which springs we will be testing, identifying them, the location, GPS locations, etc. So I am being joined right now by Inspector Rennie. Let me just add him. I'm now live, just in your camera. Let's give him 1 minute or two to get that set. Can you hear me, Inspector Rennie?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, Inspector Rennie. Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you. Can you hear me?
Okay, so I'm not quite hearing you in studio, but let me see if any of our listeners are hearing you on the air. Please let us know if you are hearing us, because I'm not quite.
You can't?
Okay, I'm hearing you right now. Excellent. Thank you for joining us. And like I was telling the listening public a little earlier on, we just completed an 8-day drone pilot and participatory mapping training for 13 persons, 6 of whom were covered under the Flowing Clean project, including yourself as a representative for the police in Sufre. Can you just share with us a little bit about what you learned during this training?
You're breaking up a bit, Sonia.
No, I was just asking if you could just share with us a little bit about what you learned during this training. We seem to have lost Inspector Rennie. Internet connectivity might be problematic. But to continue, like I was saying, we trained 4 officers from the Soufrière Police Station, and they will be joining us on our monitoring team, so that when we were going to certain areas, we would have the police assisting us in flying the drones and doing the mapping that we require. More hands on deck, the better for me, lighter work for me. We are also going to be assisting the police in whatever way we can with our drone capabilities as well now, in terms of identifying locations which are deemed to be illegal dump sites that they can then investigate instead of having random calls or not being sure of what the locations are. During my community visits in the past couple of weeks, we were able to identify certain areas that are already communicated to me as being illegal dump sites. That information has been passed on to the Solid Waste Management Authority and to the police. So having them on board will assist us in our overall goal of cleaning the Soufrière River. And that was a very important aspect for me because Waterways does not have any legal authority. So in trying to get people to clean up the Soufrière River, we want persons to do it voluntarily. And in the event that we do find activities that are taking place where we have illegal dumping happening, obviously we have to bring on board the relevant authorities, meaning Solid Waste, Environmental Health, and the Soufrière Police. All 3 of these organizations do form part of our Soufrière River Systems Management Committee. So for us, training the police was an important aspect in helping us achieve that goal. For the rest of the other personnel, like I mentioned before, how they would benefit personally in terms of, well, not personally, how the organizations would benefit. It is now up to them, those who have been trained, to go back to their organizations and give a report as to what they learned and to pass on the information to others. They will be able to show some persons how to use a drone for mapping, but not necessarily to get them certified. We have as well other components of the project that I will be pushing for us to get done in August. And some of those include getting a legal review on the legislation that pertains to solid waste disposal, solid waste, illegal trash dumping in St. Lucia. So like I mentioned before, the Soufrière Police would not know off the tip of their fingers what legislations pertain to illegal dumping, or whether it be of oil, of chemicals, or garbage, regular garbage. So we will be having somebody come in to do a training with the police officers so that they will be more aware of what laws pertain to those illegal activities. And of course, in assisting them to get that done, we are bringing on stream as well in early August our Adopt a River program. In fact, this Thursday evening, I will be meeting with the Soufrière Lions group, the Lions Club. They are interested in adopting a section of the river. Now that we have started the mapping of the rivers, we will be able to allocate the sections, measure the length of the different sections, and for organizations, whether it be a youth group, a sports club, a church group, residents in a specific area, or a business who want to adopt a section, we will be allocating the sections. And I've already had a number of organizations approach us for them to adopt specific sections, and we would want to fill in all the gaps to cover all the other areas of the river, so that we would have the monitoring ongoing. While I wait for Inspector Rene to rejoin, and I can see him now there again. Inspector Rene, good morning. Let's try this again. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, I'm hearing you clearly. Good morning. How are you doing?
Oh, good morning. I can hear you loud and clear as well too. I guess internet connectivity is problematic, so I apologize to our listeners, but in the last few minutes of the program, I'm almost done. I will do 5 minutes with you before we end the show. Can you just give the listening public a very short description or overview, a summary of what you learned from the training and how it is going to benefit the Soufrière Police in particular?
Yeah, well, let me first say good morning to you, Sonia, and good morning to the listening public. Let me say thank you for inviting me on the show. For those of you who don't know me, which I believe I should be a popular figure on the radio now. I am Kim Roy Rennie, the inspector in charge of the Soufrière and Choiseul police stations. Um, I must admit, prior to the training, I had been exposed to certain aspect of drone usage, but it was more, I would say, just without the formal training, without the official introduction. It was more, you pick up a drone, you hold the controllers, you turn on the drone, and then you try to play with the controls until you get it up, and what we did was you took photos. But having been introduced to this 8 days of training, drone mapping and piloting training, it took us, I think, it really opened up our minds and our eyes onto the benefits of such a tool. The training was not just piloting, but it also incorporated the drone mapping, which I believe is a significant asset to law enforcement. I believe it's a significant tool. One thing I've learned in law enforcement operational training is that sometimes, you know, you need to incorporate technologies that will act as a force multiplier in that, yes, you may not have the number of persons that you will ideally need to handle a situation. However, there are certain tools and equipment that, if used, they could act as 2 or 3 persons at a time. And I
Definitely.
think that's what the training did for us, where it showed us that even as law enforcement, well, that we now don't need to have you don't need to have officers everywhere, and that as long as you have the right tool, you could do just as much work as 4, 5, 6 police officers, without them being physically there, but using the tools and technologies. And I think that's what the the access to a drone can do for the police. Um, the train was one that incorporated first the introduction to piloting, and it was one that we would use to international standards, not just standards set by us in St. Lucia, but international standards. The what is being used by the FAA in the US and other international agencies as to the do's and don'ts of drone piloting and drone flying. And we see a lot of it happening here, where people, for recreational purposes, purchase a drone and then believe that they could deploy that drone and fly it anywhere, not understanding that there are certain controlled and uncontrolled areas, that there are sensitive areas that you can't just deploy a drone at. And I
Exactly.
think it was a real eye opener for us in that regard, because first we became familiar with the control flying areas, and the process you have to go through to require the relevant approval to fly, not just wake up one day and say, I'm to fly over certain area and then just deploy your drone, but you must understand, do the risk assessment, understand the impact it could have on us as a country if one of our aircrafts are to collide with a helicopter or in an airplane. So
Exactly.
that I think was an eye opener, and that showed us that the importance of our policies as a country, as the use of such tools, because there could be significant implication for the country, if, for God forbid, that we have one of those mishaps and those accidents happening on our shores. And secondly, we went into drone mapping where it showed you that you could deploy this asset, to go out and to cover and to map out areas, down the to centimeters, get distance, get, elevations, get, so much information. And that we did over the period of 7 days. Um, so as a police department, I think we are heading in the right direction where we'll be able to, have our own drones and being able to, during our traffic checks and during our pre-operational briefs, deploy assets to assist with surveillance, be able to take photographs of locations that we intend to, um, troublesome areas where you could focus on, hey, what are the entry exit points? Where are the, what are the target locations? And you could have real-time information that you could use, you know, during your operation to decide if you want to change your ops plan or if you want to continue with your plan. So I believe it's something that is going to be really useful for our officers.
Definitely. I mean, a drone is a very useful tool for monitoring. And I was explaining to the public earlier on that as it pertains to our project, we were able to see specific areas where there is illegal dumping of garbage happening in the rivers and the ravines. And that would be useful for the police, like I was saying earlier, instead of having persons walk the entire length of the river and then identify the location, you simply send a drone up in the sky and you fly the area and then you can immediately identify. So you do not have to go walking and wasting time. You would become more efficient in deploying your teams and to do what investigation needs to take place. Just to give persons like what's in the news currently, like Zuvo Carnival Band recently had an incident where they paid a truck driver to go and dump garbage from their mass camp, and that truck driver decided to go to Pigeon Point and dump the garbage right there in the area. And I have experience of that on a personal level where we paid a truck driver to dump garbage for us, and the person decided to go to Bouton and dump the garbage off of a cliff, the side of a cliff. So having a drone would be very useful in the course of the project and even beyond. And when we fly, we will be able to identify areas where people are using as illegal dump sites that you would not immediately see because of the coverage of vegetation, of trees, of brush. So for us, it was integral in getting the police involved to help us in that regard. And of course, there are additional benefits to the police in having access to the drone as a tool for monitoring, carrying out regular policing, as you mentioned, from basic traffic monitoring or any other aspect of policing. You can incorporate drones and the functionality of the various drones. I think that takes us to the end of our program. Like I promised you, Inspector Rainey, I wasn't going to keep you on very, very long. I know that we took you away from your desk, from your office for 8 days, and we are getting ready for Soufrière Carnival. So let us just end on this positive note. I hope everything is in place already on your end for us to have.
Well, what can I say, Sonia? I have a team of 15 persons who are properly trained in drone piloting. So, I think I have 15 persons I could add to my ops plan in terms of surveillance and operations for Carnival. So,
Of
you know,
course,
I
of course.
think I think we are well placed.
We will
We are
have,
well
you can
placed,
have drones up in the sky monitoring what is happening during Carnival. I mean, that's
definitely.
most definitely a plus for you as well. So, like you mentioned, you have a team of 59. That means that you're adding every single one of us, not just your police officers, to your monitoring
Yes.
team
So,
too,
yes. So as many drones as possible to make sure that we have every area properly covered.
to keep the
But
public safe. Of course.
like I said, like I mentioned, the technologies, the drone can act as a significant force multiplier. It could also help with reducing wastage and increasing efficiency in that, you don't want a drive up or a walk up the river or a particular area can take hours or days sometimes, whereas, we did the mapping of certain parts of Soufriere, in less than 5 minutes we using the drone. So it just shows you how efficient, technology is. So if we are to, you know, conduct certain surveillance on certain areas, we could do that. What would take hours by foot can be done in, mere minutes, using the device. So I think it significantly acts as a force multiplier for us where we can be more efficient with less resources, so and that we intend on utilizing during the carnival. Yes, we will not have police officers covering every single, street or block or corner in Sulfred, but what we will have is assets deployed that will give us an aerial coverage. In military terms, they call it air superiority, where you are able to control from the top, and
Exactly.
because I think that is what it provides us, and that what we'll be utilizing during the carnival and the continuation of this project, where we will have that air superiority, where we'll be able to see from a distance and be able to act based on what we see.
Definitely. And before we end, I just wanted to say thank you to you for accepting our invite to this drone training, as well as to the other organizations who made the training possible. Thank you to our instructors, our very capable instructors. Again, the training we are now certified drone pilot, both recreationally, and we are awaiting our final grades for our exam that we did. And the tools that we use, I want to say thank you to the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, for letting us use the buckets. Our exam consisted of a position and transverse exam, where we had to fly the drone and ensure that we were able to see from various angles in moving. And I think overall, as a group, we did pretty good, as our instructor commended us all. So thank you again to the instructors, very capable. According to one of our instructors, he made to teach a mosquito how to fly, or teach a fly to become a mosquito.
We thought of the mosquitoes, thought the mosquito, yeah, thought of flying the mosquito.
Yeah, so yeah, man, we learn how to maneuver the drone, and that was just a basic proficiency level. So of course, I would be looking for funding for us to continue this. We already have a couple organizations in mind, but until they come on board, our main funding agency was, of course, through the Flowing Clean project, which is funded by Jeff Small Grants, UNDP, and ProCarib. They are also on Facebook and on the internet, on their websites. You can go and take a look at the work that they do. Jeff Small Grants, if any community group, NGO is interested in conducting or implementing a project, you can go to their website or go to their Facebook page and get more information to contact them. And Mr. Giles Romulus would be very, very happy to get some additional projects going in Soufriere that can complement exactly what it is that we're doing with our Flowing Clean project. ProCarib, the focus is on improving the Caribbean Sea. So you can go on their website and take a look at what it is that they do and how our work is going to benefit the overall goal of their project. So once again, thank you very much, Inspector Rennie, for joining me. Very briefly, thank you to all those who are listening. And of course, while we end, I'm going to send you all off with our Flowing Clean song. And I'm going to call on DJ Fata to assist us in getting that done. So thank you very much, Inspector Rennie. Have a wonderful day.
You have a fantastic one yourself.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Boy, it's the message. Yo, Soufriere, I tell you, keep the river clean, keep the river clean. Keep the river clean, keep the river. I tell you, please keep the river clean. I beg you, please keep the river clean. No more trashing out.